are the biggest gaming leaks and news you've probably missed this week. Okay, real talk. PlayStation fans have been eating good these past couple months. I'm talking fat discounts on big-name games, free hits dropping on PS Plus like it's Christmas every Tuesday, and guess what? It doesn't look like Sony's letting up anytime soon. So if you've been sleeping on these deals, now's your wake-up call. Here's what's cooking for August. And trust me, it's a damn solid lineup. Lies of P is basically what happens when Bloodborne and Pinocchio get drunk together and decide to raise a child in 4K. It's a twisted, puppet-fueled fever dream that somehow slaps harder than it has any right to. The combat? Tight like a pair of jeans you shouldn't have dried on high heat. Every parry feels like slapping God across the face and getting away with it. The enemy design is grotesque in a Tim Burton went through a goth phase kind of way. And the world? Imagine if a Victorian nightmare had sex with a steampunk opera. The story is weird, the mechanics are satisfying, and the upgrade system makes you feel like Tony Stark shoved his arm up Geppetto's ass and pulled out weapon mods. And now it's free if you have PlayStation Plus Essential. DEAERVES is a hardcore, open-world zombie survival shooter. Available on PS4 and playable on PS5 via backwards compatibility, it throws you into a brutal post-apocalyptic world where every move counts, and when you die, you lose everything. Push Square originally gave it a 2 out of 10 at launch due to performance issues, but it has since received numerous patches and updates. It's still rough around the edges, but hey, it's free starting August 5th. My Hero 1's Justice 2 is basically an eye-candy anime punch fest, perfect for fans wanting some casual fun with their favorite heroes. This game is like a neon sushi roll of anime characters slamming into each other with ultra-powered fluff. It's My Hero Academia fan service dialed to maximum, where you pick your favorite hero or villain and then proceed to beat chunks out of each other across destructible playground arenas. The combat? Basically button mashing with purpose. Think dunking on your buddies using One for All and quirk explosions rather than finesse. It's flashy, satisfying in short bursts, and perfect if you've ever wanted to see All Might body someone with one punch while cheering for Bakugo's explosions. But let's be real, it's more meh than must play. Critics called it forgettable and somewhat bland, noting it doesn't really elevate the arena fighter formula beyond the expected tropes. So, Warner Brothers is doing it again. Yep, after the Suicide Squad disaster that basically set DC gaming back 5 years and tanked half the studio's financials, they're making another live service game. This time, it's coming out of WB Montreal. The team that did Gotham Knights. A new job listing just went up looking for an executive producer to lead a live service title from concept to launch and beyond, with full-on post-launch live ops baked in. And apparently it's based on one of their iconic IPs from the DC or Warner Bros. Vault. So place your bets. Is it Justice League 2, The Regrifting, Looney Tunes, Battle Royale, or maybe Harry Potter, Hogwarts Online Casino Edition? Here's the wild part. This isn't even tied to the rumored single-player Batman game that's supposedly cooking at Rocksteady. This is something completely different. Another shot at the Forever Game model right after Suicide Squad nosedived so hard it nearly dragged Wonder Woman and Monolith down with it. It's like watching someone touch a hot stove, scream in pain, and immediately do it again, but with both hands this time. Are we surprised? Not really. But if you told me Warner Brothers was this thirsty to go 0 for 2 in the live service arena, I'd believe you. Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League bombed so hard it didn't just flop. It cratered. Like Anthem level cratered. And now Warner Brothers is risking a sequel to that disaster class with another live service title. So let's talk about the Mount Rushmore of live service failures and where Suicide Squad proudly sits. 1. Anthem, the one that started it all. This was supposed to be BioWare's big reinvention. Iron Man suits, cool flying, live content roadmap, you name it. But what we got was a game that was held together with duct tape and prayer. EA tried CPR, but it was too far gone. Anthem is now a cautionary tale used in corporate PowerPoints titled How to Waste Hundreds of Millions. 2. Marvel's Avengers. Oh, look, another superhero live service fail. This one had name recognition, hype, and Square Enix money, and still died faster than Quicksilver. They locked content behind grindy, soulless systems, and then trickled out updates, like they were allergic to momentum. Hulk could smash, but the servers couldn't hold player interest for more than a month. 3. Babylon's Fall. The game's so bad, even Platinum Games pretended it didn't exist. It launched with one one of the worst art styles in modern gaming, zero buzz, and servers so empty you could hear your own disappointment echo. It was killed less than a year after launch. That's not even a flop. That's a speedrun. So yeah, Warner Brothers trying again with a live service game is like watching a guy jump into the ring after watching 3 others get KO'd in the first round. At some point, you gotta ask, are they trying to succeed? Or are they just chasing sunk costs until the whole DC catalog becomes a gacha game? Alright, so Asus and Xbox just dropped a bomb on us with pricing details for the new handheld, the ROG Xbox Ally, and it's looking a little spicy. We're talking €599 for the standard model and a jaw-dropping €899 for the premium Ally X. Now, we don't have official US prices yet, but if recent trends hold up, we're probably staring down the barrel of $600 and $900 respectively. Maybe slightly less if the gaming gods feel particularly generous, but don't get your hopes too high. Pre-orders kick off August 20th, which conveniently lines right up with Xbox's big Gamescom conference. And yeah, they'll have this bad boy playable on the show floor. They're even flaunting Hollow Knight, Silksong as a featured title. Now, look, I love Hollow Knight. It's a great game, but showcasing a high-end handheld with a 2D Metroidvania feels a bit like flexing your gaming rig with Solitaire. Hopefully, they'll also demo something graphically demanding, maybe Outer Worlds 2 or Gears of War, to really highlight what this device can handle. I mean, if you're gonna charge nearly $1,000, you've gotta convince people it's worth it. And that's where the real discussion starts. This price point is dangerously close to, why don't I just buy a gaming laptop instead? Territory. At €899, you're bumping against that uncomfortable 4-digit psychological barrier, over $1,000 in a straight currency conversion. If Asus wants to avoid a roasting session from gamers, they really need to justify the cost. How do you do that? Bundles. Throwing in a year of Game Pass Ultimate would be the smart play here. Gamers love perceived value, and bundling a subscription that's already a fan favorite would instantly sweeten the deal. It'd also align perfectly with Microsoft's push to get everyone and their grandma on Game Pass. Performance-wise, initial impressions from events like Summer Game Fest suggest the Ally does pack some serious horsepower. At one demo, they had Gears of War running buttery smooth at 1080p and 60 FPS. But a single impressive demo isn't enough. They'll need multiple flagship games consistently hitting high performance to justify those prices, especially if they're competing directly with Valve's Steam Deck, which already has a solid reputation at a much friendlier price point. The timing is critical too. Pre-orders opening right after the Gamescom showcase feels aggressive, but smart. If they can ride a wave of positive first impressions, this could take off. But if they stumble, say, with software that doesn't run flawlessly, then prepare yourself for memes, backlash, and another round of Xbox can't catch a break, videos flooding your feed. Realistically, Asus and Xbox have their work cut out. The handheld gaming PC space is exciting, but extremely unforgiving. Gamers are price-sensitive, skeptical, and not easily impressed, especially not at these prices. If the ROG Xbox Ally is going to land successfully, it'll need perfect marketing, stellar performance, and maybe even a bit of humility on price adjustments. Will this handheld be the breakthrough Xbox desperately needs, or just another expensive gadget that fizzles out? August 20th can't come fast enough. Alright, strap in, because this PlayStation 6 leak sounds like Sony is trying to build a GPU so powerful it could probably calculate the meaning of life while running Bloodborne 2 at 8K. The new codename floating around is Robin. Yeah, like the sidekick to Oberon, which was the PS5's chip. But Robin's no sidekick here. This thing is packing Zen 6 CPU cores and RDNA 5 GPU muscles so swole they could arm wrestle an RTX 4090 and slap it back to the Stone Age with a smug grin. Tom from Moore's Law is Dead is out here casually dropping bombs about Robin and Robin plus APUS, which are like Robin on steroids. And Sony's basically saying, oh, you thought the PS5 Pro was strong? That was our warm-up. Now we're talking next-level ray tracing, machine learning voodoo, and performance so intense it might make your old console cry in the closet like it just saw its ex move on. And yeah, they're keeping that Shakespeare naming theme going. Oberon, Robin, what's next, Titania? Puck? At this point, the PS6 might just recite sonnets while it melts your eyeballs with 24 gigs of RAM dedicated to lighting effects that look so real, you'll think your TV TV screen just opened a portal to another dimension. So, the big question is, do you guys think Sony's actually building a 4090 killer here? Or are we getting hyped on pure marketing crack? Let me bring your attention to this little nugget from a Digital Foundry chat with Mark Cerny. It's pure gold for anyone wondering why the PS5 Pro didn't just jack its clocks through the roof. So what's the deal with those clock speeds? You'd think a Pro model screams faster, 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 right? But Cerny drops a bombshell. The PS5 Pro GPU peaks at 2.35 gigahertz versus the base PS5's 2.23 gigahertz. Sounds May? Here's the kicker. Both actually run around 2.17 gigahertz in real games because Sony tunes the set design to keep heat and noise in check. Basically, they're not chasing those headline numbers. They're balancing performance with a sane fan and chassis size. We're not building gaming PCs, Cerny says, and he's totally right. On a PC, you've got weird combos of CPUs, GPUs, memory, you name it. Consoles are supposed to be a tightly targeted recipe. Think of Pro models as a pit stop in the middle of a race. You swap in a bigger GPU, tweak a few settings, but you don't rebuild the whole engine. That big jump, the new generation, is when you overhaul the CPU, add memory, upgrade the SSD, or even rethink haptics. Why does this matter? Because raw clock wars are old news. Sure, more clock speed can shave off a few frames of render time, but what do devs really want? Free milliseconds. And with the PS5 Pro packing 67% more compute units and beefed up ray tracing cores, you suddenly have extra frame time to spend on juicy features like machine learning upscaling or richer lighting, rather than sweating over 0.1 gigahertz boost. So here's the big picture. PS5 Pro keeps clocks sensible for thermals and acoustics. It stacks GPU grunt to give developers gravy time for advanced effects. True generational upgrades still come with whole new CPUs, memory, and I/O windows.
So we're not making PCs. We're making a few very specific things, right? How many types of PCs are there? I mean, you can't even answer that question because you can combine the components in any way you want to. Okay. So the Pro consoles are very tightly targeted. I mean, you're seeing around GPU. But when a new generation starts, then it gets opened up to what are we doing with the CPU? What are we doing with the amount of memory? What are we doing with haptics? It's a whole new experience that the developers can go out. And I think it's really helpful, even if we drop words like revolution from the conversation, I think it's really helpful if the developers have that thing to consider and can ask the question, okay, this game, yes, it'll ship on one, it'll also ship on the next, but how can it be a different creature for each of those? Not gameplay-wise, but in terms of the visual experience. Good influence.
Yeah, so for you, really that distinction, and the distinction you kind of want to maintain, is that on that enhanced side, you're talking about bigger GPUs, better graphics, that sort of thing. But on the generational side, that's when you're really trying to talk about fundamental paradigms, like how fast is my CPU? What kind of haptics do we have there?
Isn't it kind of comforting that Sony's console philosophy focuses on a smooth, consistent experience instead of chasing arbitrary speed records? I, for one, can't wait to see how they apply this tightrope approach to the PS6. Raw teraflops don't tell the whole story, and consoles get way more juice out of each compute unit than a PC card does. The PS5 Pro's custom APU, unified pool, super tight driver stack, and custom upscaling can absolutely put it in RTX 4070 territory for real-world frame rates at 4K 60 or 1440p 120. So, with that in mind, a PS6 aiming RTX 4090 level isn't as wild as I made it sound. If Sony doubles down on even more specialized ray tracing cores, the neural upscalers and bandwidth tricks, they could get near 4090 visuals in scenes that matter most, all within a 300-watt box. That said, they still won't match a desktop 40 to 90's brute force when you load it up with unbound resolutions. PCs still have the edge on absolute raw throughput. But for the kinds of target resolutions and frame rate goals Sony cares about, PS6 could very well feel as powerful as an RTX 4090 or even a 5090 in practice, just through smart custom hardware and the console's optimization magic.
It's not all going to be rainbows and path tracing.
Well, exactly. Exactly. So along those lines, actually, the PS5 Pro still has 67% more WGPs or CUs than the outgoing PS5. So this is not like, even though this is the future possibly of graphics rendering, a massive focus on AI and ray tracing. It's not completely here today, is it? Because you have to make some of these changes.
Sure. I mean, what was that like? Because you had a moderate boost for the raw graphics performance, and then you had a much better boost for the ray tracing.
But here's where the rumor mill kicks in. A Twitter sleuth called Detective Seeds reckons the PS5 Pro's big 2026 update will tide us over until PS6 launches in 2029. He says the PS5 Pro 2026 update is going to carry the PS hardware gen to the PS6 2029 release window. PS4 owners will be incentivized to upgrade to the PS5 Pro next year, and games will be rolling out more updates and patches, increasing how well they look and play on the Pro. Makes sense. Sony did something similar with the PS4 Pro leading up to the PS5 launch. Still, fans are split. 2029 is too early for next gen, honestly, thinks the guru. It should be 2030. Dude says this so seriously when the PS6 is literally coming out in 2027, argues Lacuna Assassin, pointing to the usual 6 to 7 year gap. And Old Man Gammon Guru can't help but hype the Pro even more. Another one, we haven't seen half of what the PS5 Pro is capable of. So who's right? Okay, so timing a console launch isn't just we feel like it. There's this whole engineering dance behind the scenes. First major step, a zero tape out. That's when Sony's custom PS6 APU design goes from drawings to actual silicon layout ready for the fab. Industry whispers say AMD nailed the A0 tape out in June 2026, meaning the chip design was locked in and ready for first silicon samples. Now enter our favorite tipster, Kepler. You know, the leaker who's been pretty solid in our chats. Back in December 2024, Kepler took to X with a tweet like, PS6A0 Silicon's greenlit for June 2026. Mass production kicks off Q1 2027. Holiday 2027, launch incoming. Boom. Suddenly, all the puzzle pieces click into place.
Now, when we say presence, we mean the feeling that you're actually there. You've entered the matrix. It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve, but the idea was that if we stopped using just a rain sound and instead used lots of 3D audio sources for raindrops hitting the ground at all sorts of locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin to have this feeling of real presence inside the virtual world of the game.